What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. We are here and we are live. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's stream started. As I'm waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video forward through the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you haven't already, and maybe you're one of those ghost watchers who are always watching my content but not subscribing, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please, 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 I cannot beg of you all to do this enough. Follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And now that I can see that you all can see and hear me clearly, let's get this show started, right? Let's get the stream started. So there's big news that came out today, major news as far as I'm concerned, especially with me, being here on YouTube, but it's good news to all of us as well, not just, content creators, but to everybody in the country who just simply wants a voice and wants to be able to speak freely, right? Recently, well, not recently, today, right? Mark Zuckerberg put out a video statement in which he is announcing that he's going to get rid of third-party fact checking, right, on the platform, and he's going to move over to the Twitter/X style of community notes. And in this video clip, and we're going to get into it right now, this video statement that he put out, he essentially just pledged his allegiance, you can say, for lack of better words, to free speech, right? Once again, this is coming off of the written statement that he put out where he acknowledged that Joe Biden and his administration had their hands behind him censoring political posts on Facebook and mostly posts surrounding C-19, right? He acknowledged that in the written statement, but now what we have here is a verbal statement and acknowledgement of these things as well, and what we can expect to see moving forward on that platform. So what I want to do right now is that I'm going to play this video for those of you who haven't seen it. It's 5 minutes long, so it's a little lengthy, but it is worth listening to in its entirety, and I'm not going to interrupt it at all, right? I'm going to try my best not to interrupt it, I should say, and just allow it to play out so we could just take in everything that he's saying, and then we can dissect what he's saying and how the Democrats are responding to this afterwards. So let's get into this video right now.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
I know I said I wasn't going to interrupt and I was going to let it play, but I couldn't help myself. I don't think people understand how important that is, especially moving forward with this administration concerning mass deportation and the PR war that it's going to turn into between the mainstream media, DNC press, and those that are for mass deportation, everybody else. It's going to be a PR war between these two factions. And having obviously Twitter open, but now Facebook open as well, to be able to essentially tell the truth about what's going on is very critical in the PR war that will be mass deportation.
So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts.
Once again, I know I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but we're almost done with this 5-minute videos. I just think it's very important to acknowledge the fact that he's openly admitting that at Facebook, they were intentionally and deliberately censoring political posts. Okay. I know I said I was going to let it play, but certain things you just can't let it just blow over. All right. And we're going to get into more of that after this video is over. There's roughly about 2 more minutes left.
But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
I want to acknowledge what Bev said real quick. He openly admitted to election interference, which is treason, and he should spend the rest of his days in prison. Essentially, that's what he's avoiding. What I found rather humorous about this, right, in between the written statement that he put out a few months back and this verbal statement that he's putting out now, it's the equivalent of putting in a guilty plea, right? I'm pleading guilty. I admit it. this is what I did, and I did it because essentially the Biden administration was twisting my arm to do it. Right? He's trying to avoid, investigations and possible indictments. Now, there's obviously going to be some investigations going on once the administration gets underway concerning, matters of free speech. To which, yeah, you're going to hear Facebook come up, numerous times over. But like I said, essentially, he put in his guilty plea. Right? I did it. I'm guilty. Biden made me do it. So, whatever charges that could have came my way, please don't allow them to come my way anymore. That's essentially what this is, in a nutshell. But what I find even more humorous about this, right, is how upset the folks in the DNC are over this. They are extremely upset. Let me pull this on the screen for you right now, because there's all types of, pieces being written about it. Folks speaking about it on the MSNBCs of the world, on their channels and whatnot, just spewing a lot of vitriol and just hatred towards the fact that Zuckerberg is moving towards actually being pro free speech versus being pro censorship. Let me show you guys this very quickly, right? Look, let's take a look at this. And as I'm pulling these couple articles up, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Look at this right here. uh, and for those of you who don't know, right, he added Dana White to the board. This article titled UFC head Dana White joins Meta's board. Mark Zuckerberg's second key right-wing appointment in a week. They got to make sure to add that in there, that it's the second key right-wing appointment. But here's what I found even more humorous was this Rolling Stones article that read, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are finding new ways to kiss Trump's behind. And obviously it does not say behind. It says ASS. You all know I don't like to curse on this channel, right? $. But they are extremely upset about this, right? Because the only way that they can survive and push their lies and their nonsense is through the censorship of social media. Now, there's an abundance of videos that I can play right now that I have just on the laptop where those of the DNC are openly stating that we need censorship, we want censorship. But this is the most important video that I can play here, right? And just give me a second while I pull this up. Also, it's a video from John Kerry. Many of you have seen this before in the past already, but it's John Kerry at I believe it's World Economic Forum panel discussion that they're having, and they're talking about social media, right? And the role that it plays in the world today and essentially how it needs to be censored. And I want you to sit and listen to what he says about the First Amendment and how essentially the First Amendment is a problem and is getting in the way of censorship and being able to tell our truth, right? So let's jump into that right now.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact have kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree. And people go and that people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this.
I just have to interrupt. It's not much harder to build consensus. It's much harder to spread lies today than it was yesterday, is what he really means. It's way harder for them to spread their lies today than it was yesterday.
And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways. And
so
that's
you're
really
questioning
dangerous.
really if democracy can survive unregulated social media.
I think democracies are very challenged right now and have not proven they can move fast enough or big enough to deal with the challenges that we are facing. And to me, that is part of what this race, this election is all about. Will we break the fever in the United States?
So this is what was at stake in this last election. They were hoping that they could win so that they can carry on with the censorship campaign that they're moving forward. But clearly and obviously that didn't happen. And what I want to do now, let me move this off the screen. Let's get John Kerry out of here. Is that I want to show you like how serious this stuff is, and how easily this type of stuff can affect us here in the US, right? I want to show you what's happening in the UK, right? Let me pull this video up here of the British police, because over there in Britain, people actually get arrested for what they post on social media. Like, that's a fact. It literally happens. And I will show you a video of that right now, of a man being arrested because essentially, if I'm not mistaken, his social media post, something that he reposted, caused another person anxiety. And because they had anxiety over it, the police came and arrested this man. It sounds completely ridiculous, but this is completely true. So give me just a second as I pull that up on the screen for you right now. And while I'm pulling that up, once again, please hit the like button if you haven't already. That is extremely important. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and make sure you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. Now, here's the video right here, right? Here's the video. Let me adjust myself here. And I'm going to give you guys a heads up. This video is pretty low, right? So if you're in a noisy area right now and you don't have earbuds, maybe you're on public transportation and you don't have earbuds in, my apologies, okay? Because this video is going to be a little bit low. But the post reads, British police capture and arrest an elderly man because some of his social media posts caused someone anxiety. This is no joke, right? Let's jump into this.
No, just which Hampshire police would realise how ridiculous this is. It is.
What did it need to come to?
Tell us why you escalated it to this level, because I don't understand. I posted something that he posted. You come to arrest me, you don't arrest him. Why has it come to this? Why am I in cuffs? Because of something he shared, then I shared.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media post. That's
not his.
Why you've been arrested.
No. Just which
You see that? This man is literally in cuffs over social media posts, literally in cuffs. And a lot of us think that this stuff can't happen here, but it can. And I'm going to give you an example of this right now. Pull this up on the screen next and look at this interaction here between a man and the FBI who came over to his home over social media posts. Let's get into this as we round things out.
Hey, how can I help you?
And once again, this is here in the United States where this happened recently. Obviously, as you can see with the American flags on the home in the back.
Jeremy? Yeah.
How are you?
Who are you?
I'm Agent O'Donnell with the FBI.
Can you give your full name, please?
I'm Agent O'Donnell with the FBI.
Is that sufficient to identify as the only one O'Donnell affiliated with the FBI?
In New Hampshire, yes.
Could you please state your full name, sir?
Could you please stop recording?
No. It's First Amendment right.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Could you stop recording, please?
Absolutely not. You can show me your name and identification, or I'm going to go back inside my house.
Okay. I don't really want to broadcast my...
Oh, this is going out right after you guys walk away.
So that's why I'm not going to...
So you can show me your name or ID. You can walk away.
We just want to talk to
I'm not going to talk to people who claim to be federal agents unless they can show me identification.
Okay. You see our badges?
I need to see. Is your full name on that badge?
No.
I'd like to see something with your full name, or I'm not going to talk to you.
For you not to broadcast it.
This will be going online as soon as you walk away.
Well, all I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you happen to be the one that made the post.
I want to talk to you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making six figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like
So
you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken, and that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? Like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away because nothing we did is against the law, and you guys are fucking try to act like bullies. And I hope you go home and are embarrassed. You can't even say your name on camera because you know that what you're doing is embarrassing. You know Americans that believe in the Constitution think you're laughable. You go home and you think about what you did today. Go home and think about it, you cowards. Drive away. Drive away.
Thank you for your time.
You're not welcome. You should be embarrassed. Embarrassing. You guys are embarrassing.
I mean, that was really funny at the end. But once again, the reality is this. They pulled up to his home over social media posts. The FBI came knocking on his door over social media posts. So once again, when you're seeing Mark Zuckerberg coming out to say the things that he's saying, and I can understand the people being skeptical about whatever Mark Zuckerberg's saying, because if we're being honest about Facebook, they were big on censorship way before Biden came along. Okay, they were censoring folks way before then. I remember people saying all the time, "I'm in Facebook jail. I can't post for 14 days. I can't post for 30 days." So they were big on that way before Biden came. But then when Biden came along, they just got amped up to the next level. And once again, essentially in a nutshell, like a lot of other people, like Eric Adams in New York, folks are trying to escape indictment. They're trying to escape investigation. They're trying to escape, some will just say, being held accountable for the things that they've done, so they're bending the knee and cooperating with Trump to the best that they can. And that's what we see here going on with Mark Zuckerberg. So we'll see how long, free speech lasts on Facebook, right? At least we know to some degree we may have it for at least 4 years. But after that 4 years is up, and Biden and Trump is out of office, depending on how things play out in the next election, who really knows at the end of the day, right? Because you see how quickly Mark Zuckerberg has flip-flopped. Right? He didn't have any issue with the censorship that was going on under the Biden administration until it was very obvious that Trump was going to win the election. When it became obvious that he was going to win the election, all of a sudden he put out a written statement admitting everything that he has done under the Biden administration concerning censorship. And now, with only days remaining until the inauguration, now all of a sudden he's putting out a verbal statement, essentially pleading guilty and committing to free speech, on his platform, right? So once again, we'll see how this plays out moving forward, but at least hopefully for the next 4 years, we'll have a little free speech happening on Facebook. But essentially, this is a good news, right? At least for the moment, right? Temporarily, at least for the moment, we will have a stopgap on going down the way of the UK, where the police will actually physically put you in cuffs over your social media posts if your social media posts cause other people anxiety, which is completely insane. And with all that being said, man, that does it for today's stream. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And let me just take a quick moment to give my thank yous for those of you who have supported the channel, because without you, I don't exist. And the biggest thank you goes out to essentially the executive producer of today's show, my man DSB. Okay. Not only is he a channel member, and he's always been a channel member, you know, he's been one for a while now, as you can see here, channel member for 23 months, but he also gifted out a lot of free channel memberships also. So thank DSB if you were gifted a channel membership. Shout out to my man Papa Naya Shelly for 15 months of service. I appreciate you, bro, for always coming through, never missing the show. My man Saul, always keeping my family fed. Thank you very much. He said only mainstream media can cause anxiety. They separated him, by the way. Yeah. You know, mainstream media is the one causing all the anxiety and pissing people off and aggravating everybody. That's for sure. And shout out to my man DSB again, who ran it back one more time. Who said the feds on Facebook. Yeah, they are. They are. And it looks like maybe temporarily they'll be off, at least for the next 4 years. But once again, we'll see how things play out moving forward. So thank you all for joining me today. Hit the like button on your way out. Follow me on Telegram. I will catch you guys later. Peace and have a great afternoon.